in-person meetings, which we'll go back to next week in person at Trino's on next Monday and Tuesday. But for purposes of attendance online, we're able to track everybody's attendance, record it. So there's a way to know who comes on, not only who comes on, but how long do they stay. So, and that's the important piece that obviously Mr. Rouse would want to know. So just as just by way of this information, making it transparent, you do get logged in and you do get time for the amount of time that you're in the session. And that's the information that we'll be submitting. Obviously, when we do our in-person sessions, that's easy enough and self-explanatory how that's tracked. So, okay, without any further ado, we'll get started with Rule 8, which is scoring plays, touchback. We may talk a little bit. Bobby may hopefully have some information about overtime, and that will make probably a pretty lively discussion about overtime. So, Bobby, you ready to roll? Here we go.
Should be ready.
Looks good, Bobby.
All right, everyone can see the screen and hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Roger that.
All right,
Yep.
later on we'll be
So.
using that same quiz app that Stephen used earlier on. So I just shared a link in the chat, but we'll put it back up there later when we get to the questions. So we're going to go over scoring plays and touchbacks in Rule 8. There we go. I think everyone's familiar with point values for the most part. I'm going to try and go through this stuff kind of quickly so that we have time for the cases and questions at the end. So touchdown, we know that one of our football fundamentals is that the possession of a live ball in the opponent's end zone is always a touchdown. The runner just has to advance the tip of the ball through the vertical plane of the opponent's goal line. And so anytime that you've got a team with the possession in the opponent's end zone, you've got a touchdown. After a touchdown, they get a try. And so the scoring team will get the ball anywhere they designate on the 3-yard line, obviously, unless we have a penalty that moves it. Only Team A can score during a try, so Team B cannot score during a try. We know if there's a loss of down penalty, then there's no score, and A doesn't get to replay the try. And the only exception for a try is not attempted if a touchdown is scored on the last play of the game and the outcome will not be affected by the point or two. The try begins when the ball is ready for play, and then the try ends when either B secures possession. As soon as B gets the ball, the try is over. Once it is apparent that a kick will not score, then we kill the play as well. Obviously, if it's successful, then the try ends. And if the ball becomes dead for any other reason, the try will end as well. For penalty enforcement on a scoring play, we know there's some caveats to that. On a touchdown or the scoring team, if there's a foul, they will have the option to take the penalty on the try or on the succeeding kickoff. Obviously, if there's a change of possession on the play, the foul would have had to occur after the change of possession for them to be able to keep the foul and enforce it on the try or the kickoff. If it's a field goal, then obviously there's no try, but they would still have the option to enforce it on the kickoff if they accepted the penalty. And it could be either team enforcing the penalty on the kickoff or the try if it's an unsportsmanlike conduct or non-player foul. So it is possible for the non-scoring team to have the option as well. Field goal is going to be a place kick or drop kick if it's a scrimmage. If it's from scrimmage, it can be a free kick following a fair catch in that kind of rare scenario. The kicked ball can't touch any K player beyond the neutral zone or the ground before passing through the goal. And it also has to go over the crossbar and between the vertical uprights or inside the uprights if it goes over the goal. All right, and then kind of one of the more important parts of this rule is the concept of force. And so force is going to be the result of the energy that is exerted by a player that provides the movement of the ball. We only care about force in connection with the goal line and only in one direction. Force only really matters if we're going from the field of play into an end zone. And so the initial force is going to come from either a carry or a fumble, kick, pass, or snap. And then after any of those things has touched the ground, obviously except for a pass, once that touches the ground, that's going to be an incomplete pass. But any of the other stuff, once those hit the ground, then we can have a new force that acts on the ball at that point. And so the responsibility for forcing the ball from the field of play across a goal line is attributed to the player who moved it there, unless another player acts on that ball once it hits the ground and creates a new force. So if you muff or bat a pass, kick, or fumble that's in flight, it's not a new force. It has to be grounded before you can have a new force. The accidental touching of a loose ball by a player who's blocked into the ball is not considered a new force. We're just going to ignore that. And so force will become important when we look at safety versus touchback. Touchdowns are going to be easier because we know that from our football fundamental, once you have possession of that ball in your opponent's end zone, that's always a touchdown. So the force is really going to help us decide whether it's a touchback or a safety. And so we'll look at safety first. If a runner carries the ball from the field of play to or across his own goal line, and it becomes dead there in his team's possession, we have a safety. There is one exception to that, and that is the momentum rule. So if a player recovers an interception, fumble, or kick within his 5-yard line, and his momentum brings him into the end zone, we'll mark his forward progress from where he possessed the ball and go from there. In this little video clip here, you'll see that the kick returner here gets possession around the 8 or 9 yard line and then runs backwards into his end zone where he is tackled. And so this would be a safety. Since he's outside the 5-yard line, the momentum rule would not be in effect at all. Also a safety if a player forces a loose ball from the field of play to or across his goal line, and then the ball becomes dead there in his team's possession or out of bounds, we'll have a safety as well. And also any player on offense who commits a penalty and the enforcement spot is in the end zone and the penalty is accepted, then that will also be a safety. And if you have an illegal forward pass in the end zone, the penalty doesn't even have to be accepted. That's still going to be a safety, even if it's declined. All right, moving to touchback. It's going to be a touchback with a kick. Basically, anytime the kick crosses the goal line, it's going to be a touchback unless it's a field goal attempt that is successful. Then it's obviously a field goal. Any other time it goes into the end zone, it's an automatic touchback. And here, if we've got a fumble being the force that sends the ball to or across the opponent's goal line and the ball becomes dead out of bounds, that's a touchback. And that's what you'll see in this video here, where the quarterback is stretching for a touchdown and just loses possession right before he gets into the end zone or right before he touches the pylon. And unfortunately for him, that's going to be a touchback. Also, if you've got a a muffler bat of a backward pass that goes out of the back of the end zone, we can also have a touchback. And I think everyone is familiar with an interception in the end zone is going to also be a touchback. So with safeties and touchback, whoever's goal line is involved is going to be the next team to put the ball in play, and they'll start it on the 20-yard line with a snap if it's after a touchback, or a free kick if it's after a safety. And I just had a few more videos here that we can look at and try to apply the rules to them. So in this first one, you'll see that the kick is there's a punch blocked in the end zone, and so the force that moved the ball into the end zone would have been the snap, and then there was no force, and that the ball never got back out of the end zone. So it was that force that caused the ball to go across the goal line, and so that's why we have a safety. In the second video here, it's really the quarterback carries the ball across the goal line where it becomes dead, resulting in a safety. In this third video, the thing to look for here, I think we've talked about it already in a clinic previously. That ball needs to be all the way outside of the goal line in order for it to be, not a safety, have forward progress in the field of play. And in the quarterback here, you can see that he might get it out of the end zone for just a second before he moves it back into the end zone. And so this ends up being a safety as well. I think, did someone raise a hand or something?
Ken McDonald raised his hand.
Yeah, Bobby, on the one where you had the block kick, you said the snap was the force that put it in there. The snap was successful. The kick was blocked into the end zone, and thereby you had the safety there.
Right. Yeah. The snap is what put the ball into the end zone.
No, the snap put the ball in the kicker's hands.
Right.
It was still in play, but the block kick is what resulted in the safety.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. The block kick is what caused the ball to become dead in the end zone. So that is what resulted in the safety. Yeah. There it goes. And then these are some looks at touchbacks in these videos. This one is similar to the one we saw earlier, except this ball actually is going to bounce right off the pylon. We know that the pylon is out of bounds and in the end zone. So once that happens right there, that's a touchback. This next video shows kind of the garden variety interception in the end zone. And so the ball's dead there. That's going to be a touchback. And then this third video, it's a kickoff return, and for our purposes in the high school level, it doesn't matter if this guy catches it or if he, runs out of the end zone with it. As soon as the ball goes into the end zone, it's going to be a touchback. All right, and now we can look at some of those quiz questions and a few cases. So if anyone, everyone wants to try to join that quiz app, I can add the link back in there and we can see if it will work. If you're joining the call on your phone, I'm not sure if you'll be able to do both things at the same time on your phone. But if you're on a computer, hopefully you can open up a new tab, or you may just be able to take out your phone and use the app on there.
Hey, Bobby, go ahead and do it through the chat instead of on the main screen. Just go to the chat and you'll be able to link it for everybody else.
All right. Yeah, I sent the link through the chat. I don't know if anyone can see it.
Yep, it's there.
All right. We'll see if this works. Okay, so the first. All right, yep, looks like we've got 7 people logged into it, so we'll give everyone a minute to try to get in. The information is at the top of the screen still if you need the ID number. Also, or you can go to the chat and find the link there. But the question here, the muffing or batting of a pass, kick, or fumble in flight is considered a new force. Is that true or false?
False.
We'll give everyone just a minute to get their response in. And we'll go ahead and just close it.
Stupid.
And hopefully it'll pop up with results.
This is real nice. Let's figure this out.
There it goes. Okay, so we did get mostly everyone getting that one. It's got to be grounded before you can have a new force. So the next question here.
Good call.
A safety will be scored when an offensive player commits any foul for which the penalty is accepted and enforcement is from a spot in his end zone. These are kind of coming straight from previous exams. Looks like we've got 5 responses so far. And we'll go ahead and close this one. Being a little slow. All right, everyone got that one. So now we'll look at more case type questions here where B1 intercepts a pass at the 2-yard line. The momentum of the catch takes him into his own end zone. While trying to get out of A2's grasp, B1 fumbles the ball out of the back of the end zone. Is this going to be a safety for Team A, a touchdown for Team A, a touchback, or does the momentum exception apply?
Looks right here. It's got to be away. When you let to get that, you gotta be.
All right, we'll close that one and see what we've got.
Oh, still. Oh, you got an email like right here. Trying to see.
There it goes. All right, and so the momentum rule applies since he was inside the 5-yard line. The ball will go back to where his forward progress was at the 2-yard line. The ball went out of bounds, so the other team A didn't recover it or anything, so it just goes back to the team that previously had possession, and we'll give him forward progress at the 2-yard line. Accidental touching of a loose ball by a player who is blocked into the ball is ignored and does not constitute a new force. Is that true or false? All right. We've got 75% getting true. And now hopefully this video will work. If not, this question's not going to work. All right, we'll skip that one. Oh, no, here it comes. There we go. And so in this video here, we've got a kind of a muffed kick reception by this guy over here. So the ball is loose, recovered by his teammate, who ends up with possession right there. So would this end up being a touchback, a safety, or should the ball be dead on the 1-yard line? We can go. I think I need to. Not going to let us watch the video. So it's not working great on this one. Yeah, without getting a great look at the video, either 2 or 3 would probably be reasonable. At the end here, when he first gets possession of it, he kind of bobbles it and doesn't get full possession until he's in the end zone. And so this would actually be a touchback, since the muff that we didn't get to see, but the muff is on a kick, and so it's in the air, and so that does not count as a new force, and so the ball is free for him to be able to possess, and since his first possession is in the end zone, this would actually be a touchback. If he did get the ball at the 1-yard line there, clean possession, and his momentum dragged him into the end zone, then it would be a ball on the 1-yard line. But since he does bobble it there, it ends up being a touchback. And we're frozen. There it goes. So in this one, A1 is flagged for illegal motion at the snap. Then B3 intercepts the pass and runs it back for a touchdown. Does the penalty need to be declined for them to keep the score? Can the penalty be enforced on the try? Can the penalty be enforced on the succeeding kickoff? Or are both, well, that says B and C, are both 2 and 3 true? We'll go ahead and close it. And so since the penalty happened before the change of possession, it does need to be declined in order for them to be able to keep the touchdown. Here, B29 intercepts a pass at his own 4-yard line. After turning and running a few steps, he's hit and fumbles. The ball rolls back, hits the pylon, which is properly placed. Do we end up with Team B getting the ball at the 4-yard line? Is it a safety or is it a touchback? And so this does end up being a safety. He's hit and he fumbles, so it's his fumble that is the force that moves the ball back into the end zone and out of bounds. And so you end up with the safety. A field goal attempt that goes directly over an upright is an unsuccessful attempt. Is this true or false? And we got everyone's saying true. So we got that one.
Everybody got that one.
Now we've got a field goal attempt that is clearly over the crossbar and between the uprights, but it's blown back by the wind so that it's dropping into B's end zone. This is an unsuccessful attempt. Is that true or false?
Memory. Oh, how do you put? How do you put something? Oh,
Yeah, that is false. Once it goes through the end zone, once it goes through the uprights, we've got a successful kick.
Okay. Okay.
So here, a scrimmage kick by K1 from his own end zone is muffed in flight beyond the neutral zone by R1. So it's a short kick. It's going to be muffed by R1 and rebound back into the end zone where it's recovered by K2. The ball becomes dead in the end zone where K2 is tackled. Do we have a touchdown, safety, or a touchback? A couple seconds. All right. And we'll see what we got. So what is the force puts the ball into the end zone? And so the last person to touch the ball is the receiving team, but because that was a muff on the ball was in flight when it was muffed, that doesn't count as a new force. So the last force that was on the ball was the kick. And so since K is responsible for the force that had the ball in the end zone, and then they have the ball when it's dead in the end zone, it's actually going to be a safety because the muff does not count as a new force. So the ball being in flight is important here. Next question. Team B fouls on a play where Team A scores a touchdown, and Team A elects to enforce the penalty on the kickoff. And then Team B also fouls during a successful try by Team A. Can Team A now enforce both fouls on the succeeding kickoff? Yes or no? Yeah, they actually can. So since they're not, the foul's not during the same play, they're two different plays. And so both can be enforced on the succeeding kickoff. They'll just be tacked on together. Here during a try by place kick, the kick is blocked by R1 and recovered by K2 behind the line of scrimmage, who then advances across R's goal line. How many points will K get? And remember, this is during a try. All right, let's see where we are. Yep, and so they're not going to actually get any points because if we remember, when does a try end? A try ends when a kick is obviously not going to be successful. So as soon as the kick is blocked, we know that it's not going to be successful, and so the try ends at that point. And so recovering the ball and running it in they're running in a dead ball at that point. Next, during a try, so another try, we have a fumble by A1 that is nearly at rest on the 3-yard line, when we have a muff by B1 that is judged by an official to be a new force that caused the ball to go into B's end zone, where B2 recovers and advances to his 10-yard line. How many points should Team A receive? This is kind of an unusual play. And the answer is actually 1. So we can go through this a little bit here. The ball is grounded, so the new force by B1 causes the ball to go into the end zone. B2 recovers it. Since it's a try, as soon as B2 recovers it, that's the end of the try, dead ball. So him advancing it to his 10-yard line is meaningless at that point. And so normally this would be a safety if it was in a normal situation. But since it's a try, a safety is going to be worth 1 point. And so that's why Team A is going to receive the 1 point. Hopefully that's clear.
Whoa.
All right. And now we'll kind of look a little bit at overtime. So here we've got a down in which time expires for the 4th period. The opponents of Team A foul on a play where Team A scores a touchdown that leaves Team A trailing by 1 point. And so remember, in high school, we've got sort of the college overtime system where each team gets possession of the ball, and we start at the 10-yard line, and each team gets possession until one team scores more points than the other. And so here, in this case, does Team A need to decline the penalty to keep the touchdown? Can they have the option to keep the score with the penalty assessed on the try? Can Team A keep the score and have the penalty assessed on the first play of overtime? Or do they have both of those options in B and C? And so here, since Team A is still trailing by 1 point, we know that we're going to have a try, but at this point, we don't know that we're going to have overtime. So they do not have the option to have the penalty enforced on the first play of overtime, but they can enforce it on the try. Now we've got a down where time expires in the fourth period, and the opponents of Team A foul on a play where Team A has scored a game-tying field goal. Here, can Team A, do they have to decline the penalty to keep the field goal, or can they enforce the penalty on the first play of overtime?
Wow, okay.
It is right. Since we do have, since the game's tied and there's 0 on the clock, we know that we're going to overtime, and so the succeeding spot in this case would be the first play of overtime, and so they do have the option to assess the penalty at that point. And I think this might be the last one. We have Team A scoring a touchdown on the first possession of overtime, and then during the try, Team R is called for roughing the kicker, but the attempt is successful. So does the penalty have to be declined by rule? Does Team K accept the extra point, and Team R starts the next series, the second half of the overtime, with a 1st and goal from the 25-yard line? Would Team K accept the penalty and then replay the try with the ball being placed at the 1.5-yard line? Or can Team K choose either 2 or 3? Yeah, and so since it is a try, if they wanted to, they could accept the penalty and replay the try and try and go for 2 maybe from the 1.5-yard line instead of the 3, or if they wanted to tack it on to the succeeding spot, then it would be a 15-yard penalty from the 10-yard line, which would put the ball at the 25-yard line, which is in 2. So 2 and 3 were the options for this one. And we can see if this kept score at all. I don't know if it worked. Maybe. Well, it's thinking about it. But did anyone have any questions about anything? Any?
Good job, Bobby.
Thank
Good
you.
job,
Any?
Bobby.
All right. Doesn't look like this is going to pop up.
It pops
Oh,
up on the other. There you go.
All right. So it looks like Ken McDonald and Warren were in first place. and so on. I think we did have the one question that didn't quite work right. But
Bobby, we also have one other one that bothers me, the one about the momentum rule, where the guy ended up going to the end zone where he was tackled by his face mask and got fumbled, and said the ball comes out to the 2-yard line. It did address the penalty enforcement. And the question it had, where would that penalty be enforced from?
I think my PowerPoint just closed. It was which one?
For the test, the question that you had on the test,
Mm-hmm.
you had a momentum rule where the guy, he took the ball into the end zone where he was tackled by his face mask and the ball went out of bounds over the end line. And they said that the ball would come to the 2-yard line. The penalties by the opponent in the end zone would be enforced from the goal line.
I don't think maybe the wording was not clear in there. I don't think there wasn't intended to be a face mask on that play. It was just supposed to be I think just where he got the ball out, not really a face mask.
Yeah, but if he tackled me in the end zone, went out, that's fine. We go to the 2-yard line. But there's a penalty involved, and we got something different.
Yeah. I may have misspoke if I said something about a penalty. There wasn't supposed to be a penalty on that one.
All righty.
Well done, Bobby. Well done.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. That was great. You're always well prepared in your presentation. So
Thank you.
It's wonderful. All right, let's move on to Rule 9 with Ricky Meadows, conduct of players. Ricky,
Good
you
job.
ready?
I'm ready. Good job, Bobby. So we're going to talk about conduct of players. I don't have a PowerPoint, so we're just going to go through it. As we progress talking, we're going to talk about a few casebook plays. I won't try to keep you all night. If you got questions, or comments, please don't hesitate to interject those. We'll start with Rule 9. Section 1 talks about helping the runner. We know you cannot aid the runner. We also know there's a fine line there, especially like on goal line plays or short yardage situations. We just need to be mindful if they're trying to create an advantage by aiding the runner. If we do, we need to get it. I know a lot of times I think we kind of err on the side of safety and don't make that call. But that's something we need to look at. We don't need to let the offense be gaining advantage by pushing or pulling or lifting the runner. So Section 2 talks about illegal use of hands and holding. We've already talked about in the definitions about blocking techniques. We know by rule where we're with that. We know we can't grasp or encircle any teammates to form interlock blocking. We also know we cannot, lock, clamp or grasp or that type of thing as well. I'm going to talk about some casebook plays as we go along as well. So I'll let you know the casebook play. If you want to read along with me, that's fine. I got a casebook play. We're going to go over here and for Rule 9, Section 2, Situation 3, Section 3. Once we get to illegal blocking here, we talk about blocking by a player either on offense or defense is illegal when it's kick catching interference, forward pass interference, or personal foul. We know we cannot block below the waist except in the free blocking zone, and we know that's a 4x3. Our free blocking zone is. We know that if we're trying to tackle a runner, or tackle players pretend to be a runner, that is legal. If we have a valid or invalid fair catch, we also know we cannot, that player cannot block until that kick has ended. So that's something we need to make sure of. And when we get that situation, make sure we're aware of that. Also, we know the place kicker may not be blocked before they advance 5 yards beyond the free kicking line. That's something we got to get, because sometimes we will see defenders trying to take out the kicker early on. So we got to make sure that he's got that 5-yard buffer before anyone hits him, or after the ball's touched a player will touch the ground. I'm not going to read everything as we go along. Article 7 talks about no player on the kicking team shall initiate a block on a free kick until it's traveled 10 yards. The kicking team is eligible to recover a free kick, or the receiving team initiates a block. So that talks about illegal blocking. I want to go with casebook play 9-2-3 situation C, and just one of them I want to highlight here. Quarterback A1 drops back 15 yards and throws a legal forward pass intended for A2, who is 5 yards behind the neutral zone. Before the pass reaches A2, B1 tackles A2. All right. And so in ruling A, tackling A2 is a foul, as is a form of holding. He can block, he can do whatever, but he cannot hold him. Defensive players are prohibited from grasping an opponent other than the runner. The foul in A occurs during a loose ball play, so the 10-yard penalty will be administered from the previous spot. All right. In B, B1 blocks A2. The contact by B1 is not pass interference, and the block itself is legal. Therefore, there's no infraction. That's because the ball is behind the line of scrimmage. Okay. So section 4, we talk about illegal personal contact. So we know that no player or non-player shall fight. We know they can't contact an official. We know that no player or non-player, I'm not going to read all these. You guys have read the rules, but one thing I do want to talk about in B, we can't charge into or throw an opponent to the ground after he's obviously out of the play, or after the ball is clearly dead, either in or out of bounds. And the reason we want to do that, we got to make sure we're taking care of the players as far as safety is concerned. You know, that's something that's been a point of emphasis for a while now. We got to take care of that. We can't let somebody who's out of the play get drilled just because he's, you know, even though it could be a defensive player, but we still can't make sure that we got to take care of him. We know we cannot hurdle an opponent. We know what the penalty is for that. Moving on, talks about initiation, contact with opposing player when the helmets come off. If the helmets players come off, we can't, you know, we can't hit that player, and also targeting an opponent. All right. So also we're going to talk about roughing the passer and roughing the kicker or holder. We know that the defensive players must take a definite effort to avoid charge to the passer who's thrown the ball from in or behind the neutral zone after it's cleared the ball, after it's cleared and been thrown. The offensive player shall commit any illegal contact as listed 943 against the passer. Talking about running into or roughing the kicker or holder, a defensive player should neither run to the kicker or holder, which is contact that displaces the kicker or holder without roughing nor blocking, tackling or charge to the kicker. We know we can't do that. Roughing the snapper, the same scenario. I've got a casebook play in 945E. I want to take a look at 945E. Let me see here. Give me 1 second here. So K10, the place kicker holder is contacted forcibly by R9, clearly after the kick is away, ruling that the kicker holder is a personal foul. Roughing the kicker holder is a personal foul. The penalty of 15 yards, automatic first down. So that's why it was so important that, you know, we protect the kicker and the holder as well as the snapper. Okay. All right. Moving along to section 5. Non-contact unsportsmanlike conduct by players. We know no player shall act in an unsportsmanlike manner once the game officials assumes authority for the contest, and we assume that authority when we come on the field 30 minutes before the game. Examples of that are baiting and taunting. That's a big no-no. You know, the state has wanted us to clean that up for a while now, and I think we've done a good job doing that. Profanity, insulting, insulting comments, that type thing. Talk about, you see what the other acts are, and we clean those up as we go along. When the ball becomes dead, we expect that player to get that ball back to an official. We don't expect him to spike it on the ground or intentionally kick it. If we do, we need to clean that up because there's no place in our game for that in Section 5. All right. So moving along to Section 6, illegal participation. Prior to a change of possession or when there is no change of possession, no player of A or K shall go out of bounds and return to the field during the down unless blocked out of bounds by an opponent. If a player is blocked out of bounds by an opponent, returns to playing field during the down, he shall return at the first opportunity. So basically what we're saying is if he gets blocked out of bounds, the first opportunity he gets to come back in is fine. If he decides to run out on his own and come back in, then we've got an illegal participation, and we need to make sure we know where that happened at. We know no player shall attempt to go out of bounds, return to the field, intends to touch the ball, influence the play, or otherwise. So we just talked about that. We also, in illegal participation, is to have 12 more players participating at the snap or the free kick. So, okay, 9-7. So, on illegal kicking and batting, we know no player shall intentionally kick the ball other than it's a free or scrimmage kick. Pretty self-explanatory. We talked about earlier. We talked about force, and illegal kicking and batting as well. So here we are. There are that. Section 9, non-contact, unsportsmanlike conduct by non-players. We can't. It's very important we keep control of the game by not letting them use profanity. It seems like once they get started and they see that we're going to allow that kind of thing during the game, it's going to get out of hand. So we got to take care of that as soon as we see it going on and hear it. We got to make sure we take care of that. Okay. We're not going to let them disrespect an official. We're not going to let them influence what we do. We're not going to let them hold any unauthorized conferences as well. All right. So also in Article 1, the favor for a team to comply with the coin toss. We know we don't have a problem with that. We need to be ready to start the first half. We know we don't have a problem with that. One thing that we may do, we need to make sure that at the end of the halftime, when the clock goes off before our warm-up period, we need to make sure the teams are back on the field. And you guys who go to New Bern High School, you know how those guys are about that. They're real picky about that. He loves to make sure that the opponent is going to be on the field before that starts, which they should be. But we need to make sure that we get them back there at the conclusion of halftime, so we can have our mandatory warm-up period. All right. Talk about the coach's box. 3 attendants may enter the field to attend their team during a charged timeout, none of whom is a coach. Also during the try and that type thing as well. A maximum of 3 coaches may be in the restricted box. No player or coach shall be in the restricted box when the ball is live. Once the ball becomes live, those guys need to be back. All right. Section 9. A player, non-player, subject to rules shall not be hindered by an unfair act, which is no specific rule coverage. Their team shall repeatedly commit fouls, which half the distance to the goal line. That can result in a forfeit, as we know. So when there's any unfair act, as what we need to do is be proactive as officials to make sure they're aware of what what we're considering an unfair act, so we can go ahead and get that. I'm going to go over a couple casebook plays here pretty quickly for us, so we can get going with that. One thing we'll look at first of all is conference on 9-8-1 situation A, 9-8-1 situation A. So during the course of a game, the quarterback runs to the vicinity of the team box for the purpose of receiving instructions from his coach. No timeouts requested. There's no delay. The ball's ready for play, and the coach does not leave the team box. This is legal. Make sure that, you know, we need to keep those coaches back in the team box. We need to don't let them come, you know, way on the field in order to get their quarterback the play. We need to make sure we take care of that, and it's kind of, that's why the wingmen have got to set the tone and let the coach know, you know, what the rules are and what we should be doing. Let's talk about the injured player conference in 9-8-1 situation I. 9-8-1 situation I. During a timeout for injury, may a player of either team go near the sideline to communicate with the coach? Well, yes, he can. This appear between downs. If a coach enters the field to attend the injured player, he may not confer with the players, but they can come to the sideline. I've been with some white hats in the past that said, "Hey, don't let them go to the sideline." But you know, if we got an injured player, we need to go. Just let them go to the sideline and talk to the coach and with the coach. You know, they can communicate and that type of thing. 9-8-1 situation, Jay, something I don't like to talk about, but it's something that's going to happen to all of us at some point. That's when a fight breaks out. So 9-8-I situation, Jay, a fight breaks out between several opposing players, and A, 2 substitutes from each team coming to the field. In ruling A, the substitutes are disqualified and the penalties are canceled. In B, 1 substitute of A enters while 3 for B. Since all these fouls are dead ball fouls, 1 15-yard penalty, A will cancel one by B, resulting in 2 15-yard penalties. In both cases, they were fighting, they were disqualified. So that's where we are with that. If we have a fight to break out, something crazy, we need to make sure we get numbers. We need to be conscious about who's on the field, who came off the bench, and try to control that, because that's, you know, we need to make sure that, because that gets Chapel Hill. That's the first thing we're going to do, is going to look at the film and see if we got where we were. So I went over Rule 9 very quickly, constraint of time. Any comments? Anybody got anything? Any comments? Any plays you want to talk about? Anything you've seen in the game? Anything that you guys want to talk about? I'm open.
Hey, Ricky, can you hear me?
I do. I got you one. Yes.
Yeah, real quick. Ricky, that was really, really cool. The biggest thing that I got out of there is I wrote a couple of things down. You got to remember something, everybody, that when you have games and you know, a lot of things that happen in the ninth, you know, what's happening as far as the rules and stuff, especially Rule 9 and everything. You got to watch what's going on with the games, and that's what happened. Like, even when the balls become dead and things like that, the officials got to get together, because if you don't, a lot of things come up. People alert, talk to the coaches, talk to the players, and when things start to get to be a little bit too much, that's when time you got to get things settled down, because if you don't, then what happens, especially in fourth quarters of games. So the only thing I would say is just keep alert, especially during those times, because you never know when just one person takes and just starts tripping and everything goes berserk. But other than that, man, that was good.
What you guys hand up? Go ahead.
Hey, Ricky. Hey, Aiden the runner. Who's actually primary call should that be? Should that be like the umpire's call, wingman, or white hat?
Well, as everything is any of our calls, but just, you know, the white hat's got probably the best view. But here again, as a team, that's all of our responsibility. Would you like to comment on that, Thurman?
But let me have it.
Okay, Warren, go ahead, Warren.
The bottom line is look for aid to runner. What you're looking for, guys, they're running into piles and guys are going forward. The guys moving forward and they're blocking As long as the blocks are legal and the pile's going forward, that's not aiding the runner. Look at what the specific words are. They're pushing, pulling, carrying. All right. You know, guy picks his teammate up and throws him 2 yards in front because he's getting ready to go down and gets the first down. That's probably aiding the runner. But again, I mean, I know we don't want to compare what's going on Saturdays and Sundays, but coaches, they may be yelling for it, but they're teaching their guys to push the pile. Just make sure their blocks are legal. And if the runner's going forward, you know, it's progress. And if we all look at it the same way and do it that way, we'll be all right.
Exactly. I agree with you more. Like I say, as long as it's legal, you know, we can't do anything with that.
Because again, if the guys are getting pushed in a pile, there's a way to knock that out. All defense got to do is fall down in front of that pile, and guess what? Everybody falls down. So again, there's a way to defend that play, but again, look for real aiding the runners where somebody takes somebody and pulls them over to the line to gain or whatever the case happens to be, or pulls them out of a tackle. That type of stuff is probably more believable if you call that as aiding the runner. Especially from one who had to call in a game already.
Rick.
Yes, sir.
On just and that was a really good explanation that Warren gave, but to the group on a practical sense, if you will, you'll know it when you see it.
That's true. Yeah, it's like anything else, dude. We don't need to be looking for it. It'll jump out at you, like you say, Thunder.
Yeah.
Any other question or comments on Rule 9? I know it's pretty quick. And like when there's some Facebook plays, anybody got any comments or anything you'd like to add? Anything you've had that may stand out that we could learn from?
Robert Bureau,
Everybody good?
Yeah, I got one thing, Rick, from last year's experience. For the wingmen, when we let the coaches on the field, and one guy does, the other guy doesn't. I took a lot of heat in one game last year for that. So let's all officiate that the same way. Ready for play, get them back in the box. So you're not putting your white hats in a position of seemingly we're unfair to one side or the other. Happened to me last year, not on purpose. It just happened. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point, Don. Is, you know, like we talk about a lot, we need to be consistent with what we're doing on both sidelines because we don't want to think we're giving one team an advantage.
And if I could, by rule, remember, our coach is supposed to be on the field. They're not supposed to be on the field at all.
They're not.
They're not. Supposed to be in the restricted area on the sideline.
Yeah, and when we talked about what was legal, that it's legal as long as he comes to the sideline, as long as the coach is on the sideline, it's legal for him to come get his play.
But what I'm saying is, guys, where we get in trouble is the coaches are supposed to be in that team box and them at any time. And when we mark the ball ready for play, they're supposed to go back into the team box. Now, what have we done as associations throughout the state for years? If three coaches are on the field coaching, we're not saying a whole lot. Once the ball is marked ready for play, either by the referee blowing ready for the play or the umpire walking the ball, wings you're on the sidelines, they need to go back and they need to go straight to the box. If they're going that way, they have no problem. If they're not, then you need to go through the procedures for sideline warnings if you need to. And that will prevent what Donnie's talking about. Now, if coaches are on the field, back them up. Get them off the field.
And that's a good point, Warren, because in the good old days, when we marked the ball ready, we knew when it was marked. But now the umpire's going to set it back out, and that they need to be back. They need to get back in the box. That's good. Any other comments? Anybody got any comment at all? Anything else? Like that?
Good job, Ricky.
Thank you.
Great job, Rick.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Just as a prelude to next week, we'll be back in the classroom next Monday and Tuesday at Trent Olds, 6:30 both nights. We've got Henry Rice on Rule 6, Orrin Ostrom on Rule 10,
Ooh.
Look forward to seeing everybody there next week. You guys are awesome tonight. Appreciate the attendance. Fantastic. If nothing else, for the good of the order, take care. Have a good night. We'll see you later. Peace.
All right, guys, appreciate it.
Later, everybody.
Lady's like, you're not.
Good job, guys. Thanks.
Is that